Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, worshippers of all ages, welcome to YouTube. My name is SeaRaptor, and today we have a first look for you at Tier 9 Premium German battleship Ludendorff. This ship was recently announced on a dev blog, and I don't think anybody was really expecting that we were going to get a ship like this, but here she is, in the live client, available for super testers to play. Now, as a CC, we're given the ship. We're told that we cannot play it on stream or make videos of gameplay. However, I can take you on a tour through the ship. We can talk through its stats, look at it in port, examine it, look under the hood, all this sort of thing. But of course, I can't show you gameplay because that's just the way that Wargaming has laid the rules out right now. So it is what it is, but let's have a look around. So, first things first, let's talk about survivability. This ship has 81,900 hit points. This is pretty middle of the pack. This is actually a few hit points behind Friedrich the Grosse, which is her cousin in the tech tree. This is the same torpedo protection as Friedrich as well, 25%, thoroughly average. Musashi is 55%, Alsace is 44%, are the standouts at Tier 9. There are another of other Tier 9 battleships kind of hover in the mid-20s, Izumo, Iowa, Missouri, Georgia, that sort of thing. This is the same armor scheme as Friedrich. This is the same hull, right? This is an H-class battleship. So this is the exact same armor scheme. You can go look at this armor scheme yourself on Friedrich Grosse. You don't need to have this ship in your port to see what her armor looks like, right? So I've got a 300mm belt here. I've got this 145mm upper works, I suppose. We've got the 150mm turtleback. So it's a 300mm belt, 150mm turtleback, and then this 45mm Citadel wall. She does have that icebreaker bow strake, this 60mm bow strake that comes all the way to the prow. That's, Friedrich has that as well. So, and then of course her deck armor, you've got 32 here, forward on the extremities. It thickens up a bit. 50 here in the center and forward of the turrets, and then 80 over the magazines. So she's still going to be, just like all the German battleships, she's still going to be somewhat vulnerable to AP bombs and AP shells dropping through her deck at long range. That's not a change. Let's see. Maneuverability. Handling-wise, this is basically, it's still an H-class hull, right? So the handling is the same. If you've played Friedrich der Grosse, the ship will handle the same, all right? Same with concealment, right? A full stealth rig here. You see 16.8 base. A full stealth rig, when you stack up the mods and the captain skills, is 13.2. Again, that's pretty average for the tier. That puts her right in the middle of the pack. And again, if you've played Friedrich, you're used to working around those numbers. Because it's the same hull, these things are basically just carried forward, let's say. Main battery. This is where Ludendorff distinguishes herself as being unique. She brings 4 triple-barreled 380mm turrets to the dance. Now, this is the first time that we've seen 15-inch triples on a German ship. We've seen 16-inch, right, the 406mm guns, and then we've seen 16.5-inch, the 420mm guns. We've seen those in triples on Grosse Kurfurst, but not 15-inchers. These are the same rifles that you'll find on Tirpitz, Bismarck, Gneisenau, and Siegfried, along with the same shells, shell velocities, penetrations, etc., etc., etc. So we can't play this ship, right, and show you how the main battery performs, but if you've played the German battleship line, you're very familiar with these guns by now. You've played them a lot. Basically, from Gneisenau and Bismarck, you know these guns, right? It's the same gun. Her dispersion, you see there, where is 273 meters. That's basically on par with Kurfurst. And her sigma is also the same if you dig under the hood and go look in the data mine values. So the dispersion and sigma suggest that she will have very similar shell groupings and dispersion characteristics to Grosse Kurfurst at tier 10, right? She's throwing 12 shells into about the same dispersion circle with basically the same sigma. So again, if you've played the German battleship line, you have at least an idea of what you're in for. Now, it's worth pointing out that there is another tier 9 battleship in the game that mounts 12 15-inch rifles, and that would be Alsace, right? Now, it seems logical then that we spend a little bit of time kind of running a comparison between these two ships. In a straight damage per minute race, Alsace wins because she reloads her guns faster, right? Now, you see here, I'm showing 28.2 in port. That's because I've got reload mod installed on this Alsace. Her base reload is 30 seconds, whereas Ludendorff's is 32. So already, Alsace is ahead in the damage race because she simply her base reload is faster. But on top of that, look at the shell values. Alsace's HE hits harder. That's 5,400 per shell versus 4,400 per shell in Ludendorff. And Alsace's AP hits harder, 11,900 there you see, versus 11,600 over on Ludendorff. Alsace has a smaller dispersion ellipse. You see there, 247 meters, but a worse sigma. What that means is that her shell pattern will be broader within a smaller circle. How does that translate into the game terms? What I like to try and theorize it this way. It means that Alsace is statistically less likely to be able to pick off broadside cruisers with multiple citadels in a single salvo. However, she's more likely to land shells on bigger targets like battleships or maybe even some of these battle cruisers because her shells cluster into a smaller area overall. So yeah, I mean, it's not super cut and dry. Like on the face of it, you look at this and you think, oh, Alsace's main battery is better. Yeah, not really. Like it's very there's more going on there. Let's just put it that way. Secondary. Ludendorff's secondary batteries are identical to Friedrich der Grosse. There's no changes here. These are the same guns, the same gun configurations, reload speed, gun type, mount locations. I don't get into these detailed enough to look at the firing arcs of the secondaries the way that Little White Mouse does when she does her reviews, but I'm willing to bet you that because of all of that, this is the literally identical secondary armament. So just assume that is, and then we'll wait and see if somebody smarter than me works out all the details. Torpedoes. What? That's right. You see it there on the sidebar. Ludendorff brings torpedoes. Yep. These are the continuing the fine German tradition of slapping torpedo launchers onto battleships. Now, these are the same torpedoes and launchers that you find on Tirpitz and Siegfried and Rud and Hindenburg. This is a single quad launcher on each side of the ship, right out here in the open, fully exposed, ready to get incapacitated by an enemy secondary shell on the way in. I'm joking, but that happens a lot. It's irritating. I will say that I mean, if you can bring these to action, it's just like a Tirpitz, right? Like that's your knockout punch. So yeah, I mean, if you've played a Tirpitz, yeah, you're well familiar with how to use those. Anti-aircraft defenses. So there's some notable differences here from Friedrich der Grosse. We've talked about all the similarities. This is where there's some pretty wide divergence here. Her long-range aura is built around the same 8 double-barrel dual-purpose 105mm guns, right? So this is the same. Her outer ring, 5.2 kilometers, 150-ish DPS. That's basically the same. Curiously, her flak does less damage per burst than Friedrich. I can't explain this. This is the same gun, the same shell. I'm going to ask actually Wargaming if this is a bug or not. I don't understand why this is happening. Generally, they standardize flak burst damage by tier, and at the moment, Ludendorff's looks wrong for a tier 9 German battleship, so I got to check on this. Ludendorff has no inner AA bubble at all. Her remaining anti-aircraft firepower is packed into her middle ring. Unlike Friedrich, though, her middle ring is comprised of these 30mm quadruple mounts rather than 37mm double mounts. What that means for the average player is that her middle ring doesn't hit as hard and has about a half a kilometer less range than Friedrich. So overall, again, we're not playing the ship, we don't know, but on paper, Ludendorff will probably feel a little more vulnerable to aircraft than Friedrich does, just because of the nature of how her A defense is configured. Come over here and look at the consumables loadout. Nothing fancy here. There's no aircraft facilities on this ship. So again, you're getting repair party, you're getting a heal, and you're getting German Hydro. Once again, I mentioned this kind of a little bit with some of my Siegfried videos. Mounting torpedoes and Hydro is not normal for some of these battleship-sized ships, so that's kind of noteworthy. That gives her a little bit of extra leg up. Odin has this as well, right? Odin gets this with the Hydro and the torpedoes. So in the aggregate, like, Ludendorff is basically this weird amalgam of Tirpitz, Friedrich, and Grosse Kurfurst. She brings Tirpitz's guns and torpedoes mounted to Friedrich's hull in Grosse Kurfürst's turret layout. Most of the important bits she inherits from the H-class hull that Friedrich is built on, right? It's the armor scheme, the detection, the handling, the secondary armament, all that stuff. But the guns and torpedoes are all Tirpitz, while the dispersion and shell quantity is basically all Kurfurst. On paper, I think this ship's going to be a lot of fun, especially as a secondary meme boat. For there's a lot of debate about Friedrich might actually have the best secondary configuration of all the different German battleships. And you combine that with more shells, plus the torpedoes, plus a resilient armor scheme. This could be a fun boat. So I'm looking forward to trying her out when they give us the green light. Anyway, guys, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that one. Wash your hands, be safe out there, and I'll catch you next time.